As you are aware, honorable colleagues, the drug market is a big business. And of course, when you churn out one particular capsule into millions of capsules, you're going to make a lot of money from this. No wonder the essence of this amendment has to come.
The bill was passed unanimously and has been referred to the Committee of Health for further legislative work.
Many factors define your health. Some you can control, while others are simply beyond you. On Health News, we highlight all these factors and through medical experts provide information that will help you take informed decisions on healthy living, nutrition, and keeping fit. Get incisive health policy analysis. Health News, promoting good health.
Now, one issue that has always been a sore point between the executive and the legislature has been the level of implementation of yearly budgets. Now, this issue popped up again this week and almost led to a division in the House of Representatives.
Members of the Senate Joint Committee on Finance and Appropriation at a meeting with some revenue-generating agencies. The meeting is to monitor the implementation of the 2013 budget.
If not for certain policies and bilateral agreements,
the committee has concerns with the revenue profile of some of the agencies, especially the Nigerian Customs Service. But the Comptroller General of the service explains that unfavorable government policies have had adverse effect on their revenue.
The issue of import duty, negotiable duty credit certificate, so also the bona fide assemblers. These are traders and manufacturers who form themselves in a group to plagiarize the government to give them actually what they want. Actually, Ministry of Finance may not like it, may not wish to go for it, but if the issue is presented to the Executive Council, the Ministry of Finance, I'm not sure if the majority has supported the issue. But we have a situation whereby the same manufacturer is enjoying negotiable duty credit certificate, he doesn't pay excise duty, and the same people who are enjoying concession from some items. So I think this is, in custom time, is double dipping. So the whole idea is working for some people. So I think that part of it should be looked into. If one will enjoy EEG, that means export expansion grant, you should be allowed to pay excise duty. But you are not paying excise duty, and sometimes now you make an export, percentage of the export is given to in form of credit, credit certificate, which we use in clearance of goods, and it's not money. And would that be less than 59.5 billion? So I think this issue has to be revisited. And now another issue is about free zone. Free zone. Free zones are being misused. We have standing issue with Tinapa and Calabar free zone. Goods were imported into free zone and were glad without payment of duty. Now, when we block Seme, on the issue of rice importation, they now move to Tinapa. They now move to Calabar and Tinapa, free zones. And we are witness mass importation of rice and B2 are not paid. So basically, there should be a regulation in terms of the operation of free zone, and that will help safeguard duty.
If you look behind the waivers and exemptions, you will see that they are largely sectoral and they are largely designed to support the private sector. And I think that this has accounted quite rightly, as the CG and the customs people said, for some of the inability to collect revenues that has been talked about. So I just wanted to say that in that regard, the NDCC certificates, as you know, there had been a bit of a struggle, to pay them in the past because, of course, when you pay them, you lose more revenue. At the same time, the private sector was complaining that we were not really honoring these certificates. And given that the export expansion grant is meant to stimulate additional production for export in the economy, we thought we should start to honor those certificates. At the same time as looking at the entire EEG system, where we felt that really there were loopholes.
According to the 2014 to 2016 Medium-Term Fiscal Framework and Fiscal Strategy paper, The 2014 budget is predicated on crude oil production of 2.883 million barrels per day, with a benchmark price of $74 per barrel and a projected aggregate expenditure of 4.77 trillion naira. The Minister of Finance explains that the proposed budget will be tighter than previous ones.
We have been very open and clear about the issues of the shortfall. We know that we are experiencing what I would call a quantity shock. So even if the price of oil is high, if the quantity is lower than what we had budgeted, then perforce we experience a gap in terms of our revenue collection. We released 160, and you're right that, that this will bring us to 1.01 trillion naira, which is short of the 1.5 trillion. But because of the revenue shortfalls, this is what we're able to release. And the 1.01 trillion, I want to say now that of the money we've released, we actually have about 200 and I think it's 265 or so billion. So utilization rate of what has been released for the first 3 quarters is 72%, meaning that we still have in excess of about 260 billion waiting to be used by MDAs. On top, so they've not used up what has been released for the first 3 quarters. On top of that, we are now releasing 160 billion. So that this means that to the end of this, we should have close to 400 billion.
Consideration of the report was abruptly called off during Thursday's plenary after it emerged that the House of Representatives was yet to receive its own version of the report. Copies of the report hitherto circulated were withdrawn. The Senate also approved that the President can present the 2014 budget to a joint session of a National Assembly on Tuesday, November 12, 2013.
Mr. President, with your kind permission, I move that this distinguished Senate and the House of Representatives do sit in a joint session to receive an address by Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GCFR, on the 2014 appropriation on Tuesday, 12th day of November 2013 at 12 noon.
Those in favor that the Senate do now approve the request of Mr. President for the extension of state of emergency in Adamawa, Borno and Yobe states, and for the Senate to invite the service chiefs as well as the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs to appear before the Senate to brief the Senate on the performance of the state of emergency so far in these states. Those in support say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Aside from not receiving the medium-term fiscal framework report, the House almost did not approve the President's visit. The drama began with a motion to admit President Goodluck Jonathan into the chamber for the presentation of the 2014 budget.
May I move, Mr. Speaker, and I so move that pursuant to Order 19, Rule 217 of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives, that this House do admit Mr. President and his entourage to a joint sitting with the Senate on Tuesday.
This motion is usually a formality, but it had barely been moved before a point of order was raised.
The implementation of 2013 budget is less than 40% as we speak, and we are all aware of it. As we speak, Ote is still the chairperson in charge of her organization, running the organization, spending the money without an appropriation act. Mr. Speaker, we must not turn the budget presentation into an annual ritual where we'll come and dress up for the public to see. Mr. President will come here and present the budget and he will go and nothing happens.
And this led to a debate.
No law in this land that stops the president from presenting the year's budget if he has not performed the expectation. Mr. Speaker, what I think we should do as a responsible parliament is to allow the president to come in quietly and do his constitutional duty. I will sit down and look at the budget. That is my take.